Something is rotten in the state of baseball. Welcome back to Good Sports for You, where we are talking about good sports for you. And today, though, it isn't necessarily anything good. We are talking about Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase being indicted by federal prosecutors for allegedly rigging pitches and associating themselves with bettors in order to make money off of their rigged pitches. But before we hop into it, I want to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. I appreciate it so much. So I want to give a little bit of context and background onto who these guys are. Emmanuel Clase was one of, if not the best reliever in all of baseball. He has a career 188 ERA, which is absurd, absolutely phenomenal. He was a three-time All-Star in 2022, 2023, and 2024. He's the two-time reliever of the year. He led the AL in saves with 40-plus saves in back-to-back-to-back seasons. So he is like the pinnacle of success in terms of relievers. He struggled this year, but now that we see all this alleged betting stuff and rigging pitches, maybe it makes a little more sense. But last season, he had a 0.61 ERA. So like I said, that's one of the best reliever seasons we've ever seen. He finished top 5 in Cy Young voting. He received MVP votes. He was so good. But another thing that I do want to add that I think is important for the context of this story is this isn't his first time getting in trouble with the MLB. In 2020, he was suspended for the entire season for PED use. So he already has his fair share of mix-ups in the past, but this is to a completely another level. But also you look at Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz is not a star by any means. He is about a league average starter. He's been in the league for 4 years. He was with the Pirates for a while, and now he's in Cleveland with the Guardians. And he's been, like I said, about a league average starter with a 4.05 ERA. But now we're going to get into the real seriousness with all the allegations that these are federal prosecutors. Mind you, this isn't some the MLB is looking into this. This is the FBI looking into it. And Luis Ortiz has already been arrested. And as of the recording of this video, Emmanuel Clase has not been arrested, but they're looking to arrest him, basically. So when it comes to the actual case, I'm going to be referencing a lot. The big article that I looked at was an ESPN article written by Jeff Passan. He went into it very in depth. I'm going to link it down below in the description. So feel free to look at that. Obviously, I won't be able to go into everything in depth as he did, but I do want to go over some of the biggest things. So Clase, these allegations about rigging pitches goes back to 2023. So this has been going on for a while, and prosecutors claim that Clase would throw specific pitches so that bettors who he was in communication with would know to bet on those specific pitches. These are things called prop bets. And prop bets are essentially you're picking out specific things to happen. And these can range from a ball being thrown to a strike being thrown to even, for some of these things that the prosecutors claim, even what speed that Emmanuel Clase would throw at. There were accounts of bettors claiming that he would throw below, I think it was 93.5 miles an hour in the first pitch of the inning. And then he threw a slider low and away, which is obviously going to be below 93.5 miles an hour. So it's these kinds of things. And prop bets are extremely concerning because it's so instantaneous and it's so quick. And it's these small things. And I want to go into more about the issues that I have with gambling and everything like that in sports gambling. But prop bets are such a big concern because they happen so rapidly. So basically, the prosecutors are saying that the bettors on these prop bets and everything profited over $450,000 over the course of these bets throughout the past few years from Emmanuel Clase rigging these pitches, throwing balls instead of throwing strikes on very specific pitches. And the thing is, too, is because he is so good, it's hard to say, that he was rigging anything. He just lost control of the slider here or there. But how many times in a row do you have to miss a slider for it to start to be suspicious? And then once you also throw in some things, one example that the prosecutors claim is that there was one parlay that included 8 pitches for Emmanuel Clase, and there was 7 of them were successful, and the only one that was unsuccessful was because Andy Pages swung at a pitch that was literally in the dirt. He went chasing for it, and then there was literally text communications between Clase and the bettors, allegedly. That's what the prosecution claims, that were happening within the clubhouse. So it's this is beyond a level that we even thought. This is serious allegations. And then Luis Ortiz also allegedly became involved in these dealings in June of this past year in 2025, where he agreed to throw the first pitch of an inning to be a ball in exchange for money. And then the money that Clase and Ortiz received was then sent back to the Dominican Republic. And like there is an ample amount of evidence, specifically with Clase, because it has been going on for so long. This includes like videos from the bank. This includes like text messages and like all these like suspicious bets. Because the thing is too, if I'm somebody who's running a sports betting app and I see, wow, this guy just put like so much money on a pitch being thrown as a ball, like that is absurd. So I mean, either you're a high roller or you got some sort of insider information. And so obviously the sports books and everything like that and the FBI thought that there was something more to it. But now let's get into why this is such a big issue as a whole, because this is, I mean, what's going to happen to Clase, what's going to happen to Ortiz, and how this affects the MLB as a whole. So really what this means for Ortiz and Clase is that this is beyond the MLB, is the biggest thing. This is now a federal issue. This isn't like the Black Sox scandal, you know, back in the day where it's like, oh, you're going to get banned from baseball. My guess is they're going to be banned from baseball, even if the federal stuff doesn't hold up. But if federal prosecutors feel that they have enough evidence that they're going to try you for all of these issues, which include like wire fraud and everything like that, each of them are facing up to 65 years in prison with charges that include wire fraud and money laundering. So it's like, if they think that they have enough evidence that they're going to try you in the court of law on a federal level, I can guarantee you that the MLB is going to find enough things to be able to say, okay, you're suspended for betting, which basically by the rules of the MLB, if you're suspended for gambling, you are done. You are completely done. You're going to be gone for life. And I mean, it's such a different level because you have somebody like Emmanuel Clase, where it's like, he was the star. You look at like other players who have been charged in the past, and then I'm going to talk about that later. And like aside from like Pete Rose, it's kind of guys that you're like, okay, cool. Like Luis Ortiz he's a fine starter. Like I'm sure you'd like to have him on your team. But like Emmanuel Clase was arguably the best guy at his position. And even so, like he was still doing these things. So I also think that presents a huge question of why this is happening. And I think that it speaks to a much larger issue in the MLB, in the NBA included, in the NFL, in ESPN, in all of these sports industries, because it's a sports entertainment issue. So I want to talk about that. Emmanuel Clase was set up to make millions of dollars next year on his contract. There are also team options a couple years down the road where he would make even more and more and more money. Luis Ortiz was making a little bit above league average, or I mean above league minimum, my apologies. League minimum is still like $750,000. That's enough money to live on. Now, like, I don't know if there are other issues going on outside of it, but so the question is like, why is this happening? And obviously there could be something going on that we don't know about. But also I think it speaks to the fact that gambling is addictive. And you see guys like, there was an MLB player a couple years ago who got suspended for life because he was making bets while he was on the injured list in 2023. This was all found out in 2024. And that was Tucupita Mercano. And he made allegedly like 400 bets. And it's because the thing is, the nature of gambling is addictive. And I think that there has to be something too about the idea of like, oh, I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to. You know, it's like underage drinking, honestly. It's like I was a resident assistant my whole entire time in college, and I saw like all these kids like drinking, like sneaking off and stuff like that. Once they turn 21, they honestly, it seems like they don't care anymore because there's something about the thrill of doing something that you're not supposed to do. And I wonder if that honestly plays a part of like Clase, for example, a guy who's already been suspended for PEDs, mind you, of the idea of like, I wonder if I can get away with this. And also you're going to be making money as well. And then obviously, I mean, I don't know if there were other things going on, but I mean, a lot of these bettors and bookies and stuff like that, like you look back at like the Black Sox scandal, which was obviously so long ago, and they come out there with a bunch of money and they say, hey, like we want you to do this. And then sometimes there are like threats involved. I don't know if that's the case at all. And like I said, it's like Clase probably has so much power and money that I don't feel like it would be an issue at all. But the thing is it could be. But also my biggest thing is that it can be addictive. And it's only perpetuated by these massive corporations like ESPN and MLB. I was on the ESPN website to find information about the gambling, and I saw ads for ESPN Bet. It's like, what is this world that we've come to, honestly, that I'm looking at guys who are going to be tried in federal court for betting, and they're saying that you should bet as well. It doesn't make any sense to me. And this isn't an issue that's just limited to the MLB. This is also happening in the in the NBA. Terry Rozier, he just got arrested for also being in a gambling ring. Head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, Chauncey Billups, also got arrested with something else. And that actually had to do with the mafia and stuff like that. So I don't need to go into that. The closest example, though, is Jontay Porter, he's just kind of like a role player guy, if even, honestly. No disrespect, he's in the NBA, I'm not, or was in the NBA. I'm not even close to that, obviously. But he was suspended for life in April of this year because he was providing information to a friend to, again, place these prop bets. And it's I'm sorry, no disrespect. Who in the world is betting tens of thousands of dollars on Jontay Porter? I know I'm not. It seems like you can only have a guy who really has that information to be able to say, I am going to bet all this money on Jontay Porter. It's not like you're betting on Giannis or Jokic or James Harden or anyone like that. You're betting, or James Harden back in the day, honestly. But Jontay Porter, why are you betting that much money? So obviously, that was pretty quick to crack down. And again, it begs the issue of, you are an NBA player making all this money. What is it about it that is bringing these people in? And like I said, it goes back to the bigger issue. And my biggest problem is MLB for years, since the beginning of its conception, honestly, has preached that gambling is the number one cardinal rule that you cannot break. And you've seen that with the Black Sox scandal. You've seen that with the Pete Rose scandal. You've seen that with players getting suspended now and getting banned for life. But they are actively promoting things like DraftKings and FanDuel and everything like that, which you say you cannot do. It doesn't make any sense to me. And everyone knows that gambling is an addictive thing. And I went to college. I saw plenty of people that were obsessing over gambling and sports gambling because they show these ads that are you can make money so fast, you can make it right away and all those things. That's not the case all the time. This guy, Mercano, he allegedly only won 4% of his bets. And he was part of the MLB, so he knew what was he knew he had insider information, and he was still losing all of these bets. You're not going to win because you think you know ball. I know ball. I worked for the SEC network for 4 years. I was not allowed to bet or gamble on ESPN and all of those things. And thank goodness I couldn't. And I wasn't allowed to do it because I was privy to insider information, essentially. Because if I saw a player getting injured beforehand, I could have placed a bet that would have said, oh, this team is going to win before the sports books and stuff can update. So it's a huge issue because you're not going to win even if you have insider information. And the MLB and ESPN and all of these huge conglomerates are just actively promoting this thing that is putting people in debt and is a huge issue for all of society. And now they're paying the price because you're losing one of the best closers in the entire game. It's mind-boggling that the MLB can't take a step back and say, we have gone against this our entire time. We shouldn't be promoting this for everyone. We say that our players can't do it, which makes sense, obviously. But now we're suspending players for doing it when all we show is advertisements every single day, every single game, during the broadcasts of, oh yeah, you should bet this, you should bet that. And then ESPN as well. You're running articles about people that will get put in prison for a substantial amount of time, and right under it, ESPN bet. You can make thousands of dollars by picking the correct winner. That's tempting. Of course it's tempting. And there needs to be something, because it's an extremely, extremely addictive process, and something they need to get a handle on the situation, or you're just going to have more issues like this, because it's so easy for someone to go and place, like I said, these quick prop bets on things that seemingly don't matter. I wouldn't be surprised if you see more and more things happen in the MLB, in the NBA, in all of these things, because if you have a star pitcher and they say, oh, there's a prop bet of me throwing a ball on the first pitch of the inning, that's incredibly likely. Oh yeah, I just wanted to see if the guy was going to chase, so I threw a slider out of the zone. I knew that he was a good fastball hitter, so I didn't want to give him anything to hit. That's so reasonable. And then you could profit tens of thousands of dollars. And it draws people in, and it's unacceptable, and the MLB needs to do something about it, or ESPN, or whoever it is. They have to do something, because like I said at the beginning of the video, something is rotten in the state of baseball, and the issue is with gambling. And MLB needs to take a stand. You are the people who have been saying it the longest for the longest time. Gambling's unacceptable. Well, now you're seeing a rise in it. And you're seeing that your players, your star players, you can sweep it under the rug for the guys who aren't as big of a deal. Honestly, like if it was just Luis Ortiz, you can sweep that under the rug. Now you're losing one of your top players, and he's going to be gone probably for life. And it's something that you are aiding and abetting. It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So I want to talk about it. And it's crazy that these guys could end up in prison, or at a bare minimum, they are going to be out of a job in terms of baseball for the rest of their life. This thing that they committed their whole entire life to, because they wasted it all for a couple $1,000s here or there, or tens of thousands of dollars even, when you're making millions of dollars. And it's all perpetuated by what the MLB and ESPN and the NBA and the NFL and all of these companies are doing by just promoting these gambling apps and these sports books and everything like that. That makes it so easy, and it preys on young people who are vulnerable, and all it does is get them in debt, and you're not going to win in the long run. Honestly, like at the end of the day, you're not going to, and it's extremely addictive, and something needs to change. So I just wanted to say all that. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry that this video wasn't good sports, but make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. I appreciate you so much. I hope you had a good time listening to me, even if it was just me ranting and complaining about these major issues, but something clearly needs to change. But that's all I got for me. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, and I'm out. Peace.